tech challenge to kick off Monday. All right. Good morning, Guy, Jennifer, Barbara, Billy, Christina, Christine, Fred, Jamie Lynn, Jennifer, Kelly, Lisa, Nico, Patricia, Reggie, Rich, Roberto, Rochelle, Ryan. So the team is having some internet issues, but here is what I'd love for us to kick off with. I'm going to be your guest speaker today. So good morning. My name is Jennifer Hootie Moscow, and I'm really excited to be with all of you here today. And we're going to be diving into how to clarify and communicate a vivid vision for the future that aligns not only yourself, but your team, your family, those around you around a shared vision for the future. As we're still buttoning up a couple of the tech snafus, I'd love for just a few of you who are open to sharing, if you're open to sharing specifically, what was a win from the last week that you are celebrating and you're doubling down on this upcoming week in context of business and production. So a win from last week that you are celebrating, and maybe there's like a strategy or a lesson in there that you would be open to sharing with the rest of the group that you're going to double down on. So you can either just comment in the chat box or do the hand raise on Zoom, or just unmute yourself, and love to take a couple shares here. Who would be open to kicking us off? Awesome. How about Jennifer or Fred or Billy? Anyone open to sharing a win? I know there's some wins in
I'll
here.
do a share.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer.
Jennifer's
Jennifer's for the
I don't know if
win.
this is so I've been farming the neighborhood in which I live in for 10 years. I do a monthly newsletter that I create from scratch. And out of the blue, a couple days ago, I got a call from an elderly woman who I've met it once, like door knocking, but she now is elderly and she can no longer live in the house by herself. So she called me out of the blue and said, I need to sell my house. I want you to sell it for me. My neighbor has the key. So then I went over to the neighbor's house, got the key. The woman's in the hospital. And so now I have this like, again, it just fell on my lap. It's from farming for 10 years. And now I also will be having a relationship, sounds weird, with the neighbor, because the neighbor, the key, the neighbor had me in their house. She showed me, some improvements. And then the neighbor sent me a listing. She goes, can you give me some more information about this listing? The house we're in is too small. So who knows what will happen with that. But that was
Love
my
it.
big fan. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like consistency over time. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for sharing, Jennifer. That's an awesome win. Let's take one more, and then we'll kick off the training. Who else is open to sharing a win from this last week that you were celebrating? And then if there's like a particular lesson or insight from it that you're committed to doubling down on.
I have one.
There's nobody. Yes.
Okay.
Kelly.
Okay. I'm on my way to the gym, so I kind of look like a disaster right now. I have one. So I did an open house this weekend and I almost shut it down just because nobody was coming. And just as I was about to get up and turn off the lights, I had two groups come through. And I now have two new clients from it. And I took one of the people out yesterday and looking at some houses. And then their son was with them and he said he wanted to sell and buy. So now I have three new clients from not giving up. So I guess the lesson was just keep at it, don't give up, and don't shut down your open houses early because all the good ones come at the very end.
Great win. Thank you for sharing, Kelly. Yes. Yeah, that the perseverance, no matter what. And I would also say, given the theme of this training is all around vision, I'll really be teaching you, how do we also hold the vision despite any circumstance, like despite the circumstances. And that is one of the most important skills to master as a leader, right? And as an agent and being able to show up no matter what. And even when sometimes there's circumstances that seem like, okay, maybe nobody's going to come, and then we can go into our story and our fears and our concerns, continuing to stay steady with the result and the commitment to the result. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie Lee, I think you're back here. And if so, awesome. You could do a quick intro. If not, I'm happy to jump in and just kick off the training here. You're on mute.
Sorry, I am back.
There we go.
We
Yeah, all
have
good.
we have a situation where we're having wonky internet and then our speakers went funny. So we're operating on two devices. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I am just going to quickly intro you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining our group. We cannot wait to have you here in July. I had the most incredible session with Jennifer. I spent the day with her and we went through my personal and professional vivid vision, and the impact that that day alone had. I'm starting to see myself take action in areas like getting up at 5 a.m. and going to the gym every day, despite having 4 kids that also can wake up sometimes. It forces you to take action on the vision and goals that you've set out for yourself because you're really resetting your habits and patterns in your mind. And so I'm so excited. She's also taking the hour with us here to talk about the importance of that. And then coming to Toronto before her event, I think you're doing a Jack Canfield event in Montreal around that time, who authored Chicken Soup for the Soul. Jennifer's done some pretty amazing things in her life. She did one of the book covers for Tony Robbins. She's spoken on TEDx. So it's extremely special that you're able to join us for this hour and then for a full day in Toronto. And we're going to throw a QR code up on the end of this presentation. So those interested in joining to do their full vivid vision will be able to scan and sign up for that session. So Jennifer, I'd love for you to just share a bit more about yourself and your expertise and take it from here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Jamie Lee. And it was an absolute honor to be able to support and continue to support you in really clarifying the vision, the direction, not only for your personal life. Many of you will see the vivid vision for the brokerages in the near future. And I'll introduce, give a little bit more of the spiel of my background here in a moment, but I'm going to share my screen here. And so just give me a thumbs up if you can see my slides. It says how to focus. Okay, excellent. Here's what we're going to dive in today. How to focus and align yourself and those that you lead around a vivid vision for the future that pulls you forward. So this presentation specifically is for you if maybe you're at a crossroads right now and you're asking, what's next or what now. And that can be in areas of your business, that can be in areas of your personal life, maybe in a relationship, or where maybe you're planning on moving somewhere, or there's been a health wake-up call, or there's been some sort of disruption or change, AKA a change in the market, right? AI is on the scene. Maybe you had a key team member leave, and aspects of your internal foundation have been shaken a little bit. Anyone here going through some sort of disruption or crossroads, and you're like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit wobbly here and not on my total A game? Or maybe some of you, you're struggling with some team issues, some micromanagement, some misalignment with some team members. You feel like you're having to just put a lot more time, energy into the activities that you don't necessarily want to be doing. Or maybe you're coming in today and you've been struggling to recruit or retain some top talent on your team. And you want to figure out a way of, how do I attract the right people to my team? They get it. They get what we're up to. They get the values. They're A players. Maybe some of you are growing really fast, but you're unclear of the direction of where you want to go next. Do I continue to go deeper into the area that I'm in? Do I expand? If so, what does that look like? Or maybe some of you are here and you're very clear of your vision for the future when it comes to your business and your life. You got that down, but you struggle to articulate it. You struggle to really rally and align those around you around that shared vision of the future. So if any or all of this resonates, just go ahead and comment in the chat box. Let me know. And if so, if any, even just one of these resonates, you're in the right place. And that's what I want you to know. So Steve Jobs has this quote that companies or business owners, agents must have a noble cause, and it's the leader's job to transform that noble cause into such an inspiring vision that it'll attract the most talented people in the world to join it. So as Jamie mentioned, I'm the founder of Vision Driven. Our whole organization exists to help leaders, to help entrepreneurs like you shape the future. I believe that we're in a crossroads right now in the world as a collective, right? Where there's some of these outdated systems that are no longer working. There's these newer systems that are emerging, but we're kind of in the messy middle right now. And the people who are going to be rebuilding this, the new systems, the new way to do business in a more integrated, holistic way that isn't just, completely sacrificing our lives for our businesses, are leaders like yourselves. But it requires you to truly lead from vision. And over the last 8 years, my team and I, we've had the honor of helping over 6,000 leaders, entrepreneurs, agents like yourself through a process that we've created called Vivid Vision. And I'll be sharing more about that today. And we've worked with some of the top organizations in the world, including EO, YPO, Scaling Up, some across all different industries, quite a number of companies in real estate, some that top companies I can't say the names of because I've signed NDAs, but you would know about them. And, it's work that I love to do in the world. And although I've helped some of, the top leaders in the world with not only really clarifying their vision and their direction, and then helping coach and facilitate them and bringing that vision to life, there was a time in my own life where I had more questions than I had answers when it came to my future. And one of those moments for me was May 2021. And so I'm sitting in my home office in Solana Beach at the time. Background, I'm originally from Saskatchewan, Canada, but moved to the US about 15 years ago. So I'm sitting in my home office, and I had just clicked send on a really big project that I had been working on in the company that I was running at the time, a marketing agency where we had helped Tony Robbins do some of the marketing for his latest book. And it was like the dream project, working with the dream team, the dream client, all of those things checked out. And we ended up hitting every major bestseller list, including New York Times. But I sat there at my computer, and instead of feeling fulfilled, I felt flat. I felt empty. I kept thinking, is this what I was chasing so hard for? Is this what I have been sacrificing so many other areas of my life for? Was this moment? And it felt hollow. And I thought it was going to feel different. I thought that this is what the vision was. And it was to a degree. But then this familiar voice kind of whispered, this ain't it anymore. And when I really sat there, I realized that this voice had been trying to get my attention for the past 12 months or so. I had felt a change coming on, and I had been running my organization. I had a team of 15. We were doing multi-million dollars. We were kind of at the top of our game. We were known as the top agency in the space, but I was feeling a change, and I didn't want to admit it because I didn't want to admit the responsibility of it. And so I masked it with something much more convenient: busyness and confusion. Busy, I would get lost in the day-to-day. I was hyper-focusing of just what was right in front of me and getting, hyper-focused there. And then confusion, I realized it was easier for me to say, I don't know what I want next. And the reason why I was saying that is because then I didn't have to be responsible for needing to know what was next. And at that point, too, to layer it on, in my business journey, I had helped hundreds of top entrepreneurs, leaders through a process called Vivid Vision for the past 6 years. And I knew that I was in a pattern that a lot of my clients were running into, but I had, for most of my life, had been relatively clear of what I always wanted. Like, I would just set my goal, achieve the goal, set the goal, achieve the goal. And so this was a very uncomfortable place for me. So I want you to just reflect back. Who here has ever been in one of those moments where you're not clear of exactly what's next, whether it's in the business or your personal life, and it hasn't fully emerged yet. And it's like this uncomfortable no man's land. And you're really asking, okay, like, where am I headed? What am I doing? What do I really want next? Anyone here can relate to that? Yeah. Yeah. And it's an uncomfortable place to be. And so, quick backstory, very quick. So 6 years earlier, before this moment where I was sitting in my office, I had bootstrapped my first business in the marketing space called Conscious Copy. No team, no name, no freaking clue what I was really doing. And I had went to a business dinner where there was this the group of entrepreneurs. And one of the entrepreneurs that was there was a guy named Cameron Herold. He had helped build $200 million companies. One of them, he was the COO of the company 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Anyone here familiar with that? See the big trucks around, Canada-based company. And he had helped take that company from a couple million in revenue to over 100 million in revenue, alongside the CEO, Brian Scudamore. And the both of them said that the reason why they were able to have that fast of growth was because of a process that they did called Vivid Vision. Cameron went on to write a book about it. And so I'm sitting at this business dinner with him, and he asked me, hey, Jennifer, tell me about your 3-year vision for your company. And I remember I was like, it's kind of stuck because I'm like, I can barely plan 3 months from now. And he looked at me straight in the eye and he's like, one of the most important things that you can do for your life, for your business, is create a vivid vision, which is a blueprint that paints a vivid picture of exactly what your company looks and feels like 3 years into the future, as if it's already happened. And so this guy seemed really smart, had a lot more, experience, credibility, and success than I did. And so I was like, I'm going to do this process. And so I went home and I created my first vivid vision for my company at the time, Conscious Copy. And I wrote down that we would be known as the top copywriting company and marketing agency for helping personal development and business leaders in the world, working with people like Tony Robbins and Joe Polish and Brendan Bouchard and Dave Asprey of Bulletproof Copy, really many of the people who are at the top of their game in that space. And I wrote that I would have this awesome team that was all aligned to the vision and the values, that we would grow into a multi-million-dollar company. And I took it to the next level. And once I had that vivid vision, I started to make decisions by it. I started hiring by it, recruiting by it, leading my team members around it, and making sure that we were all focused around that shared vision for the future. And within 3 years, and then most important part, right, got to work in making it happen and taking aligned action towards it. And within 3 years, pretty much everything in that vivid vision came true. And Cameron, this guy right here in the slide, early on, he actually became a client, and he asked me if I would start helping other entrepreneurs and leaders through this vivid vision process. And I saw it as a total parallel to what we were doing in our marketing agency, because a vivid vision was kind of like a sales message, a sales page for the future, except for, instead of it selling a product or a house or whatever it may be, it was really selling the future for the company. And so I, had a lot of this momentum. I was achieving a lot of pretty substantial success. And so I started continuing to create these vivid visions for my life over the course of 6 years. And so it felt extra confronting as I was sitting there in my office in 2021, stuck, knowing that I had outgrown the old vision, that I didn't want, what I've built anymore, but I didn't know what was next. And my team started getting really frustrated, and they started asking, "Hey, Jen, where are we going? What are we doing? Hey, what's the vision?" And it was so frustrating because I couldn't tell them, because I didn't know myself in that moment. And that's when I knew that if I wasn't crystal clear of the vision, then no one else was, and no one else could be. And therefore, every decision was up for debate. It felt like we were using brute force to create progress. Everybody was focusing on solving the symptoms, operations, marketing, these mini fires, versus asking, is what we're currently doing even relevant to what it is that we're building? And so, I had gone through a version of this process before, but I was hitting a growth edge, and I realized that I barely even scratched the surface with this idea of vivid vision. And so I committed myself to going through a similar process, but much deeper. And really what I saw was there were certain limiting beliefs that were standing in my way of dreaming more, of dreaming bigger. And I realized so much of my life I was operating from achievement. Once I get there, then I will be happy. Then I'll be satisfied. Then it'll be enough. But then when I got to areas of there, it wasn't. Have you ever had a time in your life where you thought that the goal that you were after, that was the ticket, that was going to solve the problem. But then when you got there, it wasn't, and it was like that empty promise. And so part of the journey that I took myself through was letting go of what I thought I should want. of what I thought others wanted for me, and letting go of the need to prove to myself and others, and asking myself some much deeper questions around what it was that I really wanted. And the truth was that I already knew, and I'm going to show you in both today's training, and then if you join us at the live workshop next month in Toronto, how to go layers deeper and get really crystal clear of like, what do you want? And I realized for me, it was right under my nose. And the fast forward of the story, I ended up having an elegant ending, is what I called it, with my agency, Conscious Copy. And as I shared, what I wanted was right under my nose. We were already doing it, which was around vivid vision. And it was the perfect tee up to what I'm doing now at Vision Driven, and being able to help thousands and thousands of some of the top leaders in the world like yourselves, not only clarify the vision of what's next for you, but bring it to life in a different way that feels a lot more satisfying, fulfilling, and life-giving. And so here is what we're going to cover today. What is a vivid vision? Why is now the time for you to craft your next vivid vision? 5 keys to gain clarity around what this looks like in relation to your future. And then I'll show you how I can help you uncover the bottleneck that may be restricting you from really clarifying your vision. Does that sound good? Y'all game for that? Excellent. See some thumbs up. Awesome. Okay. And feel free to comment in the chat box if you have any questions at all, clarifications. I love being in dialogue. I love, like, you'll see if you join us even at the in-person workshop, like, I love workshopping, facilitation. So anything that you're stuck on, just feel free to comment in the chat box. So I covered this a little bit, but what is a vivid vision? First, I want to start with what it is not. So grab your pen, piece of paper. You may want to take some notes. Who here has heard of a vision statement, right? It's kind of like this corporate term of pulling a bunch of words together, and then you create this long drawn out sentence, and then we assume that this is, what this one sentence has the ticket for you and your team knowing exactly where you're going, the exact coordinates of the company. But usually it ends up being this like techno jargon of something very generic, like, we are here to help empower our customers to improve their lives and be better through our strong loyalty and integrity to service. And it's like, any business in the world could have said the same thing and you wouldn't know whose is whose. So it's not a vision statement, okay? Who here has done a vision board before? Vision board fans? I love vision boards. Okay, this is so fun. You take some magazines out, and then you put some photos from magazines and on a kind of a collage board, and then you can put it up. And there's actually some really great research on how our subconscious mind picks up on these pictures. And it's kind of like, hey, here's a general idea of what I want. Vision boards are awesome. However, a vivid vision is not a vision board, because here's the deal. If you were to hand your team, even if you have a team of 1 or a team of 3 or a team of 10, would you be confident that they are going to execute on what it is that you see for the vision of the future of the company through a collage, right? No, it's going to be left up for interpretation. So it's not that. And here is a big mistake I see a lot of leaders make, and a lot of agents, is they will think that a vision is a revenue goal. So they'll say, I want to have generated X amount top line or X amount bottom line, by 2028. And it's not a revenue goal. A revenue goal is a metric, but it's not the vision itself. And this is a very important term. It's important to have a revenue goal, but then it's, what is the story around that revenue goal? So it's not just a revenue goal. It's the story that is connected to it. So a vivid vision is a 5 to 7 page blueprint that paints a clear, vivid picture of exactly what you want the next 3 years of your either life or your business or both to look and feel like as if it's already happened. It is the story of your future. It is your North Star. These are some examples of vivid visions my team and I have helped craft for companies, leaders, etc. So you'll see here, it tells a snapshot of what the company looks like 3 years out. So this one we actually created 3 years ago. We'll be wrapping it up in December. It highlights your core values. What does your team look like? Your culture, your core business activities. What does your sales look like? Your marketing. What is the media saying about you? What are the awards that you're getting in 2028 as if it's already happened? And then here's an example that we did in real estate, same thing of painting the picture of the future story. So now we can see, okay, this is what our culture looks like in 2028. Now, what conditions would need to be true? What do we need to build out this year, this quarter, in order to make that our reality? Here's another example that we created, and you'll see it has imagery and comes alive of really painting that picture in all these key areas. And you can also create your own personal vivid vision of, okay, it's 2028. Where are you traveling to? What does your health look like? What do your relationships look like? How many vacations are you taking per year? Where are you going as a result? What do those vacations really feel like? And this all becomes your North Star. Is this landing so far? Following with me? Excellent. So number 2 is, why is now the time to craft your vivid vision? Well, the first piece is there was a study of 183 multi-million-dollar business owners that found that the average growth of companies with a vision was more than double that of companies without a vision. McKinsey did a study and found that companies with a clear vision outperformed others by 2.4 times in profitability. Your vivid vision is also meant to attract and repel. So you use it for recruiting. You want to attract in the right people who are aligned to their vision. They feel like by being part of your company vision, an aspect of their own personal vision is being fulfilled outside of just a salary. Like they feel connected to the cause and they align with their values. And has anyone here ever attracted the wrong team members? Anyone here? And you get on and you pour so much time and energy and training, and then it's like months down the line and you're like, this person it's just not a fit. It's not a culture fit, misaligned values. And then you think back to not only the money invested, but the time that was invested in attracting in those wrong fit team members. And the vivid vision can help solve for that, because you share your vivid vision up front with potential team members, and you're going to get a gauge for, are they in or are they out? Attract and repel. Here's a study by Gallup. 85% of employees worldwide aren't engaged at work right now. The same studies that shows that employees who understand their company's vision and purpose are 3.5 times more likely to be engaged. Your vivid vision aligns and focuses your current team from being task-driven to being results-driven. Plus, 52% of employees said they'd leave their current company if they don't feel aligned to its mission and vision. So my guess is a lot of you actually, well, first our process is discovering and clarifying what that vision is for you, but then we want to make sure that we're sharing it, right, with your team, so that they can be bought in and connected to that vision too. So who here gets overwhelmed at all of the things you got to get done in any given day? And all of the opportunities that you see of like, oh my gosh, I could do this marketing tactic, this marketing tool, this, right? So the gift of entrepreneurial leaders is we see opportunity in everything, right? Now, the kryptonite of being an entrepreneurial leader is we see opportunity in everything. And so your vivid vision becomes a true North Star. It becomes a decision filter where when you know what your vision is, you can discern if an opportunity is aligned with your vision or if it's what I call a seductive distraction. A seductive distraction. Anyone familiar with those? I'll put 2 hands up here, right? Where I'm like, oh, this little project, it's not going to take much time, energy, it's just this little thing I'm tinkering with over here. And then it's like this detour that sucks up my energy. And then, 3 months down the line and bigger investment that I thought more time. And I land right back where I began. And I'm like, oh, this wasn't aligned to the vision. So it can really help with that. Who here is familiar with the Eisenhower matrix? This is kind of like important, urgent quadrants. So the short version of this, though, here's the tricky piece is, so on the bottom, you'll see here, it says urgent, non-urgent, urgent, and then not important, important. So oftentimes as leaders, we get caught up in the things that are important and urgent, crises, right? It's like, oh, we got to handle this thing and we got to handle it today. But if we are not careful and we do not do the proper goal planning and vision planning, which is actually a non-urgent but important, then everything becomes a crisis and we're always just focused on what is right in front of our nose. And we're never actually making the substantial progress that we want or designing our lives in the ability to really enjoy it. And so the tricky thing about, a process like Vivid Vision is it's very important. This is where you literally carve time to design your life. Like you are saying, I'm going to sit down and map out where I want to spend my time, what I want to do, what I would love for my life. Yet most of us spend more time on social media in any given week than we would do on actually planning our vision. But we jump into the crises. So this is why it's so important. If we don't intentionally plan it, then usually life creates a wake-up call to do it for us. So short version of or a story here. This is my client Akram. And some of those moments where like shit just hits the fan in your life, like maybe marriage is hard, business is hard, family challenges all at once. That's where Akram came to me. He was, running a business, but he was super burnt out. His business had plateaued 2 years in a row. He was in a cash flow crunch. He had built the team like he thought he was supposed to, but he didn't like going into the office. And him and his wife had just had a baby, and there was a lot of strain on their marriage of just both of them feeling like they were so spread thin and constantly reacting. And when he came to me, he was like, Jen, I hate to admit this, but I literally am asking myself, like, are my best days behind me? Because I am feeling so exhausted, so stretched thin, and I just don't know if I can do this anymore. And he was considering selling his business. And so we spent a couple of days together at one of our Vivid Vision retreats, and I really helped him map out what his vision was for his his personal life and then his business. And I said, here's the deal, Akram. You got to know that your future doesn't need to look like your past. And so if that's maybe where you're running into, like, man, I want to grow, but if it just means more of the stress that I'm already feeling, I don't know if it's worth it. There is a better way. Right. And that's what I really showed him. And so over the course of our work together, once we crafted his vision, we installed new systems, first in his personal life and his business, really making sure that he got back his time, that he had the right people in the right seats in his business, and that he was designing his business to support his personal life, not his personal life to support his business. And fast forward, in less than 9 months, he got his 60-hour work weeks down to 25 hours per week. Over the past 2 years, he doubled his business. He surpassed 8 figures in revenue with very healthy profits now. built his A team, his marriage. There's so much more harmony. I literally just got a message from him yesterday where him and his wife, they're having their second baby on the way. And I helped him design his calendar this year to take a 4-month sabbatical from his business so that he can fully be there for his family. And when his new son is born, and they just had a head launch for their new headquarters. And the Vivid Vision was the first domino that informed all of the decisions thereafter that I supported with him. And so again, whether you're experiencing any of these things, the question is, are you really clear of the vision and where you're going? So now that we're clear of what a vivid vision is, why it's important now, we're going to go through the 5 keys to help you begin to gain clarity on your vivid vision. We're going to go through this pretty quick based on time, but y'all still good following me so far? Is this resonating? Okay, awesome. So 5 keys. First thing is we believe in a 3-year vision at Vision Driven. And the reason why is because it's far enough in the future that you can dream big without needing to know the how, but close enough where you can get really vivid and specific with it. I know there's a lot of other models out there that will sometimes do 10-year plans. I think 10 years is way too far. It's good to have a big goal, maybe like the big, hairy, audacious goal far out. 5 years also works and is close to 3. But we do 3 years because it's a sweet spot, especially now in the age that we're in with how fast things are accelerating with technology. It's the sweet spot. So key number 1, you're going to want to write this down, is personal vision first, business vision second. Most leaders flip this. They build their business first and hope their life fits. But here's the deal. If you don't define your personal vision, your business is going to do it for you. And who here has found that already? And so when I work with leaders, we get clear on what's most important to them. We design the life that they really want. And your future is simply a psychological tool. Because we only live in the now. This is kind of the illusion. We only live in the now. The future is like a made up psychological tool that we use so we can make decisions in the now that ensure that our future now is more desirable to what we want. It sets a frame and it helps us determine what decisions we need to make and the path forward. And so if you are not prioritizing your health, your relationships, what you want your lifestyle to look like, your personal wealth in the future, you are going to create it by default versus design. So that is why we start with the personal vision first. Here's an example of my own personal vision. I have it up on my wall. I look at it every single day. I do my annual planning by it. I do my quarterly planning by it. I plan my personal quarters before I plan my business quarters. And this informs how I plan the calendar. And so it's very important to start with the personal vision first. Key number 2 is get really clear and honest of your core values. Who here has core values defined? Okay, some of you, awesome. Who here has your core values memorized? Memorized. You know them like the back of your hand. You can say them right now. This is a gap that I see a lot of leaders make, is maybe you're clear-ish and you have core values for your personal life and your business. They should be absolutely in harmony, but say in context of your business, your core, if your team members were only handed your vivid vision and your values and nothing else, you should be relatively confident that they would then build the business that's in your mind. And the values are how you make decisions by, the characteristics and qualities of doing the work. But often I see leaders compromise their values for the vision. And this is why they're both so important. So for example, maybe you do believe that one of your core values is family, family first. But then what you got to do is you got to take an audit. You got to look at where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your money? Our wallet and our calendars actually reflect what we really value. And so then you'd ask, okay, does my calendar and my wallet reflect that I value family first? And if not, how do I make sure that I am designing my future and my life to reflect that? Also, in context of the business, your values are what you fire by and you hire by. So, for example, this is a client of mine, they're called ClickBank, and we help them really define their core values, help on what are the qualities and characteristics of your best people, and how do we make sure that we're hiring only people who fit these core values. The CEO of Southwest Airlines was being interviewed, and he was asked, how do you train your people to be so happy? And he said, I don't. I hire happy people. For me, in our organization, one of our core values is full ownership. We do what we say and we live on the solution side of situations. And so I hire by this, I fire by it. I coach my team members by these values because my role as the leader is to protect the vision and protect the values. And so if you don't have core values, this is really critical because when you have your core values, we don't go to our vision, we come from our vision. And we come from it and we make decisions by it based on those values. Okay. Key number 3 is you want to suspend the how for right now. If you are saying yes to more than you are saying no right now, it's probably because your bar is too low. And when it comes to your vision, your job is to have 1 foot in possibility and 1 foot in reality. But so often I see leaders, they want to be realistic, on what they can do. And I say, if you know exactly how it's going to happen, it's a plan, not a vision. So you got to suspend the how. This is a client of mine. His name's Dan Martell, Canada-based. He built multiple successful companies, built and sold many of them. And in 2020, my team and I helped Dan craft his 3-year vivid vision, and we've helped him create many others since. And one of the questions I always love asking in my workshops, my retreats, and my one-on-one work with clients is, what is a vision that you would love that, like, for no other reason than it would just delight you, like, what is just something that would be so cool to have realized and to have done? And he said, I would love to be on Tony Robbins' Business Mastery stage. And so I said, we're going to put it in the vivid vision. He had no idea how he was going to make that happen. He didn't have contacts at the time with Tony or his team, but he got clear on that that's what he would love. And then over the course of those 3 years, he asked himself, okay, who do I need to become in order to make an opportunity like this welcome? And he got clear. I gotta write a really good book. I got to build an audience. And he got to work on building and designing a business and a life, not just for that goal, but like it inspired him to ask the bigger question. And fast forward 3 years later, I got the text from him where he was invited to speak on Tony's stage 1 month before that 3-year vision was wrapping up. They reached out to him. They called him. They said, hey, we want you to come and speak on our Business Mastery virtual stage. Here's the photo proof. And he shared, he had no idea how he was going to make that happen. So again, if you know exactly how, it's a plan, not a vision. Part of my work that I do with leaders is I stretch your capacity for belief. And I oftentimes say to my clients, if you don't believe, believe in my belief. Because if you have a desire and it's a burning desire, as Napoleon said in Think and Grow Rich, and that will to make it happen, it's yours. It's yours. So the vision is the mountain peak. Once you're clear of your vision, it's unchanging. Then the plans are the paths to climb it. And then the strategy is knowing when to switch the paths. So that's the key. So suspend the how. Key number 4 now, paint the picture and make it visually concrete. John F. Kennedy in his famous talk said, we are going to land a man on the moon by the end of this decade. He made it visually concrete what that vision was. He didn't say, we're going to aim to be #1 in the space race. We are going to advance science. No, he created a visual. And what I have found by leading thousands of leaders through this process is when they first come to me, ironically, some of the visions aren't very visionary. So evidence suggests that the more concrete that the vision is, the more it can inspire employees. And the reason why is because the part of our brain, our subconscious mind, makes decisions, and this is the part of our brain that governs 95% of our decisions. It operates in pictures and emotions. Pictures and emotions equals stories. And so the more that we can tell the story of our future, the more we're getting this powerful part of our brain that has all of the horsepower to bring it to life. I'm gonna skip this story for time's sake. But the question here is, what is the specific vision that if we painted the picture would unlock everything else? And we're not going for a word salad here. We're going for something that moves you. This is so much of what I support my clients with. Step number 5, finally, is to ask high quality questions. So the questions we ask ourselves are so important that they shape our future even before it arrives. So I was helping a client in some one-on-one work a few years back, and when we were going through the process, I noticed him keep saying things like, well, this is what we should do. This is what we got to do. This is what this is what we need to do in order to be competitive. And I paused him for a moment and I said, I get there's a strategy component to this, but we're talking about the vision right now. We're talking about what it is that you really want. And if right now we're designing this future that you're excited to show up to. And so what I want to make sure is that we're not creating a golden jail cell, which means you arrive to the destination that you plugged in, but you realize that it wasn't even what you wanted in the first place. And now you trapped yourself. So in this process, you're going to invest your time, your energy, your bandwidth, your problem solving capabilities. And so you want to ask high quality questions. For example, it's December 31st, 2028. What do I really want? Like, if I could have it all my way, what would I love? How will I know? What is the subjective truth that I've realized the vision, or the company's realized the vision? What is the problem that I want to make the biggest dent in solving? And the more clear you can get, the better. And again, then you go into the process of creating your vivid vision so that you can share it with others, attract the right people, make decisions by it, reverse engineer your annual, quarterly planning by it, and ultimately bring it to life. So to recap, it's December 31st, 2028, and it all worked out. You want to remember to craft your personal vision first, then your business vision second. Get clear and honest of your core values. Suspend the how for right now. Paint the picture and make it visually concrete, and then ask high quality questions. So the final step that I share with you is how you can uncover the bottleneck that may be restricting you from clarifying your vision, and what are the steps that you can use to craft your vivid vision. And I know that you are top producers and you've showed up, to be here today. And so Jamie will share a little bit more about, we're going to be doing a live Vivid Vision workshop next month in person in Toronto, where we're going to be taking these concepts from this training today and going even deeper on them. I'm going to be providing you the playbook on how to actually clarify your vivid vision, how to unlock some of the areas where you may be stuck, confused, unclear, things are a little bit murky. And you're also going to have time to workshop, so that by the end of that workshop, you are going to walk away with the first step in our 5-step method of clear on the vision, clear on what the next 3 years really looks like for you and what it is that you want. So we can throw up that QR code here in a moment. And just before that, if any of you have any further questions, as I know we're coming up on time, if you want to learn any more about immersive one-on-one coaching facilitation, just feel free to email me at jennifer@visiondrivenglobal.com. Just subject line producers call, or if you have a specific question, I'm happy to open it up and go a little bit longer. Jamie Lee, if you'd like, for any questions. And if you want to share anything else about the workshop
Yes,
we're going to be
I'm
doing.
more than happy to do that. If you have the time and are willing, I'd love to put our QR code up, and we've got this spinning wheel, Jennifer, that we want to spin quickly before people leave the call, because we're going to give away 2 tickets to your event in July
Love it.
as gifts to people on the call and here with me in this room. And as we do that, I'd love for people to ask you questions as they come up with them.
Yes.
So those are that's the QR code for anybody on the call that would like to come to our event in July. It will be in Toronto at the Stories Building. It's going to be an exceptional event. Jennifer does this at a very high level. So if you want to re-clarify your vision for you personally and professionally, please come. It's well worth what its ticket price is. We're heavily subsidizing the event to make sure that you guys can all be there. So take it away, Jennifer. I'll let people in here.
Feel free to, if you want to pop up the QR code.
Think about it if you do and come up after, because I've got to go on mute and play digital jockey with the mute and the 2 laptops operating.
All good.
Anyone on the call, feel free to raise your hands, and then we're going to spin the wheel for free tickets to your event.
Excellent. Yeah. If you have a question, even just unmute yourself. Any question from what I just went through?
I have a question. Have you heard of It Works?
I have not.
Okay. I'll send you, it seems similar to thinking as it's already done. It's all, it's a good support thing.
Awesome. Any other questions? Happy to answer them. And maybe it's like in context of, where you're currently at in your life or your business, or maybe a specific, it could even be, okay, how am I supposed to be, making decisions aligned to the vision when there's things in my current reality, the market, family, etc., that, really do need my attention. Like, how do I balance the two? Anything like that?
I've got a question.
Yes.
Thanks. Sorry, I'm just actually running out the door, so I'm glad I was able to get this on my mobile. How do you come across, and I'm sure you do, people who have big visions, and then sometimes the people in their personal life have very different business visions, or they're just not as ambitious, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or they, because they're not in the business world.
The tangible example. Would this be,
yeah, my spouse, for instance, because she's not in the business world, and she very much less open to what is possible, and sees that if when business gets big in my life so far, that means personal life is limited, right? And so I think it's a lot of what you're talking about. And so I think there's this fight as far as, well, don't get busy because then we'll never see you.
It's a great topic. And this is why I believe it's so important for you to craft the personal vision
First.
First, and then the business vision. And in some cases, it looks like setting particular guardrails for yourself. Let me actually tell a story. So with one of my clients, actually the client I gave the example of Akram earlier in my presentation,
yeah.
There was a challenge where, they have two really big seasons. Their Q4 and their Q1 are like their playoffs, right? And it requires a lot of energy, time, bandwidth, late nights. And there was some friction, right? In his personal life with his wife, where she's like, man, like you're never home, you're never around. And he said, and I feel conflicted because things are busy. And I said, well, let's sit down and actually look like, when are your true busy seasons? And we got clear. It was like 2 quarters. And then there was a third quarter, there was some more growth. And I said, are there any of these months that are typically slower? And he said, yeah, these 2 months on the back end of Q1. And I said, have you been taking time off during those? And he said, no, I usually I keep that momentum going, but things are a little bit slower. And I said, what if we can design your calendar in a way to where both on the front end of these busy seasons and the back end, we're intentionally carving time for you and for your family, and you're having a conversation with your wife up front to be like, hey, this is my playoff season. And like, I'm not going to be home as much, but can we align on how we can be in sync leading up to that and pouring into that relationship even more, so that it doesn't feel like, the family's getting the scraps, which sometimes can, that's what the family can feel. So it's getting on the same page. It's aligning the best that you can. And then, putting subtle guardrails around your time. Like, okay, when you are with your family, you're fully with your family. But then also sharing why it's important when you're not, what you're up to and what you're building. So I think it actually more so comes to communication and alignment.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Helpful?
Thank you for sharing,
Yes.
Jennifer. We have names on the screen and we're going to do a spin to win. And then for the people here at Energy, we have another separate raffle. Your names aren't on there, right? Or they are?
Jamie
Okay,
Lee,
so we have a couple of different slides. So go ahead and spin the first one, Dawn.
Okay, so the first one is for somebody live in the office at the Energy Building. So let's see who the winner is. All right, Jessica.
Woo! Awesome, Jessica.
Then we have people who are part of the 3 market centers that Jamie Lee owns. So that would be KW Energy, KW Advantage, and KW Experience that are online. Okay. And then the last draw for everybody online, regardless which brokerage or market center you are a part of. And we have Vanessa.
Woo! Congrats, Vanessa.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Jennifer. I can't wait to have you here in July. And we're going to continue to get tickets out. There are a limited number of tickets. There's about 120. available. So we hope to see all of you there, and I really appreciate your time today.
My pleasure, Jamie Lee, and thank you all so much for today. I hope you have a great week and would love to see you in Toronto next month.